Mocktails? Would you like a mocktail, ma'am? If you tell me my students can't learn, I'll invite you to our classroom. Mocktail, you look beautiful. Hey, Schaefer, will you take over for me?
If you tell me my students have too many behavior problems to be successful in the classroom, I'll invite you to our classroom.
If you tell me the standards are too rigorous for my students, I'm going to invite you to our classroom. Hi, how you doing?
And if you tell me my master schedule is too restrictive for highly effective co-teaching, I'll invite you to our school.
And if you're going to tell me that this is all too difficult, it's just too hard, it's too much work, you have to change the master schedule, I'm going to tell you, take a look at our classroom.
I used to have like bad grades with single teachers in middle school, and I used to have trouble. And now in co-taught classes, they like have like groups and stuff. They could teach you one by one and stuff.
Like if some students are behind, they could cut off most of the class and then move some class that is moving forward in the other class that could like teach it more slower.
If a teacher is talking to another student, there's another one that could come and help me if I don't understand something.
My grades are just better because I get a better understanding of what we're learning because I get more help.
Completely just made my grades go up.
Okay. All you are doing is labeling. Partner A, you are labeling.
This year, I feel like I'm doing better than I did last year with grades and everything.
Some of the people that are frustrating and needs help, it will change their lives. It will be a game changer for them.
If you don't like talking out loud, you could ask for help separately.
You gotta move though. You gotta move around. Actually point in front.
This we just evaluate.
So we just write
Yeah.
I was having trouble in math, so the teacher kept on teaching the class while the other teacher went out and taught me like things I had trouble with.
This is the function. The function is p of x equals 4x minus 2.
It's a good idea because your students will have better grades, better opportunities and stuff, and you'll learn a lot more.
But now, since I'm in this class, it makes more sense and more understanding and less frustrating.
Just having two teachers makes my whole school career better.
So this is my co-teacher, Mr. Mike Schaefer. I won't call you Michael in front of these people.
And this is my co-teacher, Mr. Joseph Garten.
And we're here to talk to you a little bit about co-teaching. And the first thing we have to say is co-teaching is a bromance. And that's really, really important, is that, Mike, what was your experience like?
So I got to Mr. Garten's room. We talked real quickly. He already had a desk set up for me. He had an area for me. It was awesome.
I wish I could say the same thing. You're co-teaching, you're going to have the most difficult time with your general ed teachers. Why? We're control freaks. I've spent a lot of time on my curriculum, working with my department. I spend a lot of time and money on my classroom, making sure it was in. I have plants and curtains. And like all good teachers, I am a hoarder. And here's my admin telling me that they're going to stick a new teacher, a new desk, a new computer, and a new phone in the corner where I store the boxes that don't fit in my armoire. Where the box is going to go, I'm going to need a storage shed. But I decided I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to be head on. I'm going to be proactive. And so I wrote down a list of my 15 pet peeves and non-negotiables for Mr. Schaefer. And I sauntered over to his desk. I slapped it down. And I said, "Can you kick it with me, or I'm going to have to kick you out?"
I decided to kick it.
He decided to kick it, which is really good, because although that was really aggressive and assertive, it was a really positive thing that happened, as it opened up a dialogue between us. We had to start building this relationship and this bromance, and what happened is we had a conversation about a common goal. What I realized quickly was we both cared about kids a lot. I was afraid I was going to have somebody that was one of those teachers that clocked in, clocked out, and did nothing else. And we learned that we both want all students to learn. And as the conversation began to roll, I began to learn that we were compatible. Mr. Schaefer likes sports. He can talk to kids about sports. The only sweating I do are sweaters. I don't have that access to students. And so I reach students in a completely different way, and I engage with students in a completely different way. Schaefer had experience at a middle school level, and teaching a 9th grade classroom was really enlightening for me to see where they had come from, and he could speak to where kids were coming from in middle school. I have taught seniors in upper level and done some work even at the university, and so I could speak to the rigor and relevance that students need to move forward and be successful in their lives. And so through that, we built this sort of relationship, and one of the number one things besides kind of having the trust, the compatibility, and this conversation is PLC time. We have fantastic, if you want to see a good PLC, come to Sparks High School, and it's the truth. I will flat out say that we're better than all of the other schools. Our PLCs are fantastic, and it's because our admin has done nothing but completely respect our PLC time. We have all of our PLCs. Any other information that would need to be disseminated is done at different times. I get to meet with my department on a regular basis. And because of that, we have built curriculum. We've increased student learning. 83% of our freshmen received English credit last year, which is big for us at Sparks, and I'm hoping to increase that by 3%. Only 29 out of our 350 freshmen didn't get any English credit. That's only 29 kids that have to make up that full year. And so this is some really great information that happened. Our PLCs have been fantastic. We PLC together. Then we go and PLC in the hallway, and then we have whole department PLCs, and it spreads across the school, and it's been really fantastic to watch our growth. One of my English teachers, who's a veteran, my hero, and the reason I'm an English teacher, Miss Lori Frias, she the other day said, sometimes I have to catch myself because I almost start crying in our PLC because it looks like one of those inspirational teacher movies, and it doesn't feel real. And it is real, and part of that is the co-teaching helps build that connectivity and sort of bring us together in that. But the reality of the situation, and what we really want to get at here as well, is that without admin support, we can't do any of it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for one night only. Miss C.J. Waddell.
Yes. Hello? Oh. Yes, one night only. Well, tomorrow if you come to cafe. But we do support our co-teachers. We support them a lot. And we're very proud of them and the journey that they've taken this last 4 years. I'll tell you, 4 years ago, we had co-teachers. We did. We had 5 teams of them, but they weren't really co-teaching. They were out of the classroom quite a bit, our special education part of the team. And it really wasn't a good thing as far as what our students were doing. So the next year, we decided to attend a Stetson training. And we were really excited about that. And we got there, our 5 teams were all set up, and it was all elementary schools and us. So immediately, some of our teachers started tuning out because this doesn't apply to us. Fortunately, they were able to bring some things back with them and kind of get on track and start doing what they needed to do. So we kept moving along, and the next year, last year, we said, well, we're not going to do that again with the elementary schools, and I'm sure it's a great training for them, but it's not transferring for us. So, we invited Stetson to Sparks High School. And we had our own little private training with all of our special education teachers, all of our EL teachers, and all of their co-teachers in the core subjects. And everybody trained, and the very next day, it was amazing. We had teachers in PLCs telling everybody else what they had learned and how they were going to use it, and that, yes, they were going to use it too. So it was amazing. And I need to tell you, can get the next slide. The struggle is real. There are lots of challenges. There are lots of reasons not to do this. Master scheduling is difficult, trying to fit things in and double up 2 teachers and put them in the same room. The pairings sometimes just don't work out. Shared space, you've already heard Mr. Garton was pretty possessive of his room. Teachers weren't protected, so when we had like a sub that didn't show up, they'd pull the co-teacher and automatically they would go into another room, and now we don't have co-teachers. And our collaboration on early release Wednesdays, everybody went their separate ways. So there are challenges, but if I can get the next slide, we can see what some of our lifesavers have been. So we had to think outside the box. We started selecting our teams very thoughtfully as far as thinking about personalities and who might work well together, even if they didn't think they would. We kind of mandated the shared space thing, desk, computer, and phone, 2 of them in every room where there was a co-teacher. We also have common preps. They plan together, grade together, and teach together. Equal responsibilities, that doesn't mean exactly the same, but equal. They're protected now. When we need a sub and need to pull somebody, it's not a co-teacher. We try to find somebody else in the building who can help us out, but a co-teacher needs to be in the classroom. That's where they belong. And finally, as Joe mentioned, one of the biggest things is they're collaborating together. On early release Wednesdays, our EL teachers and our teachers in the special education department, 3 weeks out of 4, they're with English, science, math, and social studies. And so far, it seems to be going pretty well. Here's what it looks like today, if you'll check the screens.
It creates a learning environment that addresses special needs, high achievers, low achievers. With 2 teachers in the classroom, there's so many avenues to reach kids that don't necessarily get reached.
Our ability to differentiate, to be able to scan the room and walk around and help students in a much more efficient manner with 2 people in the classroom, and to reach out to those students and to be able to differentiate the learning. So if a student is down here as far as their understanding of a certain concept, I may be working with this student and a group of students, whereas Miss Valerie will walk around and she'll be able to take care of some of the students that have already reached a certain standard, and then we're moving on. So I would say a great success would be differentiation within the classroom. It's just collaborating, working together, and having thoughtful discussions again about how we're going to, again, improve the achievement in our classroom for our students.
It's double the help, it's double the support, it's double the instruction. It's 2 ways of hearing the same instruction, maybe from a different voice. Might make more sense to them.
They do get more help, and then they do get more support, and that, you don't have just one math teacher in there really like pumping up the math and showing how much they care, but you have 2.
We get to work together, and we get to bounce ideas off of each other, and we get to do more for our students. There are 2 of us, so we get more for the 2 of us, and I think it's just super beneficial for the students, and I think they get a better feel of success. Today we were sitting in here planning for the next few weeks, and we were kind of like, oh this, and Mr. Garten had said, oh, this is what I do with this, and then Mr. Schaefer had kind of attributed. So even though I only have Schaefer in the room, I'm kind of technically co-teaching. Like, there's 3 of us.
We can figure out what our strengths are. Yes. And like the other day when we were doing the books, the codex. That was so great of you. And so I kind of like just, okay, Miss Trey, you're going to do that, and I'm going to help the kids because that's your strength. Yeah. So I kind of like the idea of figuring out what our strengths are, and you can go with that, or I could go with mine. But we both co-teach all of the lessons.
Exactly. So with 2 of us there, we're able to catch those little moments, I think, quicker. When a kid is struggling, I'm hoping we can nip it in the bud quicker than if just one of us was there.
So I love that video. It shows we all know how far we've come by watching the PLCs that were in there and listening to those teachers. It looks really good, but it's not perfect yet. We're flexible. We're still trying to think outside of the box and work with things. This year, we had some more challenges. We lost some teacher allocations. And because of that, we didn't have 5 straight periods that we could just plug teachers in every single case. So we actually have 2 split teams. We have one in science and one in English. Mr. Schaefer works with both Mr. Garten and Miss Caskey. But we worked around that by giving them a common prep, and that's what Ms. Caskey was talking about when she said it's like having 3 teachers in the classroom. So there's still challenges. We have some of our teachers that are in the EL department and the special education department only co-teach 1, 2, or 3 periods. They have to teach support classes for EL, mainstream support. They have to teach SSTS. Nevertheless, they plan, they grade, they work with their co-teacher as if they're in there 5 periods a day. So you got to be flexible. But we've got lots of celebrations. So as you saw in the video, our students report that they feel way more successful. They report that their grades are better than they've ever been, and they feel really great about that. Teachers report that they're learning from each other and becoming stronger educators. And we have stronger relationships across the building with staff and students, students and students. So we have quite a few celebrations. Here's one of our recipes for success. So this is our co-taught tonic. If you want to borrow this recipe, please do. We have 28 trained co-teachers, 37 co-taught sections in algebra, geometry, biology, world history, and English, freshman and sophomore English. We have 37 co-taught sections. We have the ELL expertise. We have the special education expertise. And here's an example of what this yields. Last year, for the first time, we had 10 sections of co-taught geometry. And our students who have IEPs went up from a 14% credit attainment to a 41% in 1 year. We just found this out yesterday when we looked. So we're excited. Our EL students, same thing. They went up 5% in overall growth, because this isn't just for EL and SPED students. It's for everybody. Overall, we went up 6% in 1 year in geometry for a credit attainment. And we think it has a lot to do with those 10 sections of co-taught geometry. So, success. These numbers are great. The comments are encouraging, but we need some real-life information about individual students. And I'll tell you, every one of our teachers has those. They have a story about so-and-so who it's working for. And Mike has a great one he's going to be sharing with us.
Probably.
Try it again.
I'd like to talk to you today about a student named Carlos. And I think we've all had a Carlos in our classroom. Some might describe the adjective as man-child, or maybe immature, or even the dreaded behavior problem. Carlos's biggest crime was that he was just kind of immature. He wasn't ready for high school. But as you know, if you slip up in freshman year, you can find yourself kind of behind the 8 ball. So Carlos would come in with kind of like a 7th or 8th grade mentality, and he'd be very boisterous, and he would like shout across the room and do a lot of things that you're like, kid, what are you doing? But Carlos was also the kind of kid that came to school with a smile every day, and he had a twinkle in his eye. So it was really impossible to stay mad at him for any length of time. One day, I caught him on his phone right before class. He was coming up at time, and he was laughing at something. He was laughing at something. I was like, what are you laughing at? He's like, no, I can't show you. It's too funny. I'm like, too funny? Well, now I'm intrigued. He's like, does that mean you're mad? No, that means I'm interested. And Carlos was watching goats. Goats doing yoga. And he was right, it was funny. And then I saw goats doing parkour and goats doing all sorts of things. This kid loved goats. Pretty soon I loved goats. But I also kind of discovered that Carlos wasn't able to read what we were asking him to read. So that kind of manifested itself in different ways. I would love to tell you that I had a couple of quick conversations with Carlos, and Carlos turned it right around and earned all his credits that semester, but I think we all know that that did not happen. Fast forward to the second semester, and Carlos has kind of begun to turn it around. I had a lot of time to work with him because of Mr. Garten. Mr. Garten enabled me to kind of build a more deeper relationship than I would have with him in the past. And when I get frustrated or I'm not helping this kid, I'm just wasting my time, Joe would be like, no, you're getting to him. You're only seeing the microscopic view. I'm seeing the wide angle lens, and you're getting to him. And then it was time kind of for the end of the year. And Carlos had kind of turned it around, but he still had several Fs. And it was the day for 8th graders to come to visit. Carlos came to our class, and then the 8th graders came. And I fully expected Carlos to get up and act boisterous and get right along with his younger peers. But he didn't. I think alcoholics call it a moment of clarity. For him, it was like a moment of realization. He saw himself and where he was. And he looked at where he was now. And although it wasn't where I wanted him to be, it was much farther than I ever thought he would be. This year, about a week into school, a veteran teacher, 29 years in, came up to me with tears in her eyes. I said, "Are you okay? What's going on?" She said, I just read the most awesome thing about you. And I was like, "About me?" "Yeah, you had a student named Carlos who said that you never gave up on him. And he thought you would many times, but you never did." And she said a lot of other things, but it got to me. I was like, wow, I did make a difference for you. You were that starfish, since we all like that poster so much. Carlos has turned it around. When last I checked, he has straight B's. And I think that's the kind of personal story that I need to bring to your guys' attention, because it can happen, and it happens regularly at Sparks High School.
So, I think I'm on. Do I need the mic? Ooh, I'm hot. So, the reality of the situation in all of these, sorry, I have to be a goofball. It's my nature. The reality in all this is we do impact students' lives, and whether I get them in my class, I know that we're going to get them eventually. And he was able to pick up one credit, or half a credit in our class, and then is now rocking all B's, which is fantastic. And he came and saw us, and he's really happy. And we have a ton of stories. The kids on the video were either sophomores that were freshmen of mine. And so teaching's hard. We all know that it's hard on every single level, day in, day out, every single day. And today's payday, and I'm going to go to Bowley's at 5 o'clock, and I'm going to have myself a beer. Who's coming? Now, I'm only on teacher salary. I'm not buying, but I will drink with you, my friends. But teaching is hard, and we all know it, and we all love it, and we come every day because of Carlos and because of the kids in that video. And teaching is hard, so what we challenge you to do is, why not just make it a double? Thank you, guys.
Whoops. And Joe seems to forget we have an invitation to extend. We're training all of our brand new teams on October 18th. And we do have room for a few more teams if you have somebody that would like to come and join us and kind of see what it's all about. And anytime you want, just let me know. You're more than welcome to come to Sparks High School and come into our co-taught classes and tell me which one is regular ed and which one is SPED or EL. Because I don't know if you can. So thank you very much.